Camera's rolling.
Maybe I'm too young to know any better, but I guess I'm just too old to care. I'm waiting on the morning light to clear the air. Never get is wrong with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the one that you created. The one that you hated.
All right.
Good morning. So hey,
Good
did you
morning.
adjust to the daylight savings time pretty well, or did you wake up late?
Oh my God. It was hard. As I get older, it gets harder and harder to get used to. I did hear a rumor that this is the last year, so hopefully, if everything
Yeah.
goes well, this will be the last time for me. But yeah, this is.
They've been saying that for 30 years.
I know, I know, and it's the government promising something. But yeah, it was a hard morning to get up. I'll be the first to admit that. How are you doing?
I lost an hour, but I'm okay. I'm gonna live.
You're gonna
But hey,
live.
listen, we got a pretty good show today. We're going to be talking about some masculine frame. I know I had a few people that were asking me, Jimmy, you keep saying this statement about masculine frame. What does masculine frame mean? So I decided, you know what? Let's do a podcast on it. Why not? Let's just do a whole damn show on it.
Sound like a plan. Actually, you know, when you were talking about doing this, when I was like, okay, I mean, you conceptually know, but then you're like, okay, what is a masculine frame? So perfect timing.
I'm going to define it today, but before we get started, let me go ahead and welcome everyone. Hello and welcome to the Big Show, everyone. Hosted by me, Jimmy Smith, alongside my co-host and color commentator, Dwayne Ward. The Big Show is a podcast where we discuss modern day issues like women, dating, men's health, masculinity, and what makes a man. So let's go ahead and get this show started. So masculinity frame, masculine frame. Dwayne, a lot of those words are synonymous. I tell you, man, you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that there's a lot of masculine men are not around anymore.
You know what? I've seen memes on it, like, you know, the guys of old, and you know, again, I'll maybe bring it up later, but I got to meet one of my masculine guys yesterday.
You did?
Actually, one of my inspirations when I was a little kid. But yeah, you don't see that, you know, the old masculine that you saw me went, that's a dude. That's a guy. Now it's like
100%.
you know, it's getting worse and worse.
I'm just noticing that there's like less and less masculine men around. You know, recently I was sitting at a restaurant a few days back or so, and I'm looking around at all the men. I don't know if there's anyone like me out here. I know there has to be men that do this, but every time I walk into a restaurant or a place, I have to take the seat that's facing the front door because I must see who's coming in and coming out. It's like a provider protector type of thing that I do. And not only do I take the seat that faces the door, but I also look to see where all the emergency exits are. I'm making sure that if chaos manifests itself, that I can grab whoever I'm with, the loved ones that I'm with, and we can get out in a quick, safe manner. So I want to know where the exits are, who's coming in that front door. And also what I do is I kind of scan the place to see who's sitting at what tables, because, you know, you can kind of detect some higher quantity threats and some lower quantity type of threats. Do you do that as well? Or am I the only crazy person that ever does that?
As you're saying that, I'm like, holy crap, me too. And actually, my wife and I have talked about it a number of times, and I've always been that way. And I'm like, is that in the DNA? Is there a book? Well, I'm a 2A lover here in Texas, and
a two-way lover.
No. Let me be very specific.
A two-way lover. So you said
2A, Second Amendment. There we go. Let's be very specific. Have an awkward conversation with the missus
Just
later.
clarifying, buddy.
Yeah, 2A. A is an apple.
Yes,
and,
sir.
you know, again, I'm a big fan. And whenever, you know, I go into a restaurant, of course, always having my 2A with me,
Yeah.
and I always sit in that spot. And it's not a over the top, for people that kind of understand that it's not an over the top, like, oh, I hear something drop and I'm ready to go or whatever. But yeah, I'm always scanning for threats, either actively or passively. And that's just, I don't know how my brain works. And okay, sounds like you're in that same boat.
I am, man. I think men are kind of hardwired that way. The way that women are kind of hardwired to, think about nurturing and loving. I think men are kind of there you go. Mike says, "Hey, man, back to the wall." So that way no one can get behind Mike. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's his threats are right here. And honestly, guys, I'm glad you're sharing this because I was kind of wondering if I was the only one, and I knew that I couldn't have been the only one. But I guess it kind of sounds weird in today's world.
Is it the DNA? Or I mean, is it? What is it?
I think it's DNA, man. Instinctively, we just want to provide and protect. I mean, we just want to care for the people that we love. And I will go down with the ship to make sure that the people I love are saved.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here at this restaurant, right? And, I'm trying not to be judgmental, but damn, man, I'm looking around and I thought to myself, I'm looking around at all the men in this restaurant. And I thought to myself, if something bad happened in this restaurant, there is no man in there that will be able to help me neutralize the threat.
Right.
I'm the only dude and I don't like that feeling, man. Not because I'm worried about not being able to stop, but you know what bothers me is that there's probably men and women in there who would look at men like me, masculine men, and look down and call my masculinity toxic.
They do.
These are the same people, these same beta men and these same feminist type of minded women that would be looking at me to save their asses if some shit was to go down. So how ironic is that, So I'm looking around and the people are in there. They're just like the men. They're just like fat and weak and fragile looking.
Hey.
I'm not talking about you. You weren't there.
Okay. All
You're
right.
back in the heat. I ain't worried about you. And the waiter, right? The waiter comes over. He's got his skinny jeans on. He's got his man bun kicking. I mean, this dude must have weighed $155, soaking wet. He's like $160 with rocks in his pockets. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could see through the skinny jeans that my arms were bigger than his thighs. And I bet that dude couldn't even do 5 push-ups. And I'm thinking to myself, when I was this guy's age, man, I hated being skinny. I mean, I'm a tall dude. I'm 6'6". But when I was in high school, I only weighed 175 pounds. They used to call me Jurassic Jimmy because when I bent over, you could see my backbone. It looked like a dinosaur. And I hated being skinny. So when I turned 18 years old and I could buy my first gym membership, that's exactly what I did. And I don't know how, or thank the Lord, but I've been hitting the weights ever since I was 18 years old. And, now I'm 260 pounds at 6'6". So I'm a lot larger of a man than I was back then, but I just can't do I just can't go through life, not being able to do 50 push-ups in a minute. I want to be able to, take care of things if things need to be taken care of. I'm just looking at these weak, breakable, looking males that would probably scream if a couple dudes walked in with guns or something. They would probably be in the fetal position, cowered in fear. And this is the selection that we are leaving for our women out there, by the way. The women that we love and care about, this is the selection that we're leaving them out there. And you can't complain. You can't put a lot of heat and judgment on these women out there when they're talking about where's all the good men, because this is the kind of stuff that they have to choose from. But if you're a guy out there on the open dating market, good news. This is your competition. This is your competition. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'm not afraid of being on the open dating market because this is my competition. Right. Back in the days, Dwayne, a boy would be raised by not only their fathers, but by the tribe, like a group of men. Boys were put through like a rite of passage. He had to pass a test in order to become a man. We don't have that kind of stuff anymore, man. And this has led to a world of weak, soft, feminine males. I'm not even going to call these guys men. They're just males. These males are complacent. They're lazy. They don't feel like going to work. They don't feel like going to the gym. They're not ambitious. And you know how women love ambitious men, and these guys are not ambitious. Most
And
of
they're
these,
not.
most of them do the same thing every day, and none of it will project them to being the kind of man that he desires to be. And that's unfortunate because men, to your earlier point, have this innate want and need to be masculine men. I truly feel that they do. Just some of these guys are so uncompetitive, and some of these guys don't even know how to be masculine because they never were taught to be that way. But instead, they sit around, they daydream about the women that they wish they had spent their nights. I mean, they sit around daydreaming about women, and the women that they wish they had instead of the women that they do have, and they spend their nights masturbating and watching TV, and they spend their days obsession about the crush that he has on this woman who doesn't even know that he even likes her. Like there are guys out there who are crushing on chicks and thinking about these women all day, and these women don't even know that he likes her because he's so ambitious, so unassertive. He's so unmasculine that he won't even go and approach. Guys don't even approach women today, man. I mean, it's crazy. And I truly believe that by and large, women, I mean, I tell you, if a man's not going to be assertive enough to go and tell a woman, then we live in a sad time for men, because I truly believe that by and large, women who don't produce a family will always kind of feel like their lives are missing something. And a man that doesn't fulfill purpose, I believe, is slowly dying. That's why I talk about masculinity. That's why I talk about purpose. Women need to feel like they left something, a legacy, some love on the planet. And men feel that way too. I'm not saying they don't with the legacy and the family, but as men, we have to know that we left this place a little bit better than when we came into it. And the purpose for men don't necessarily have to be families. It could be a career, a job, could be a building that you spent 30 years working on, or a mall, or I don't know. I mean, we just have to know that we left this world in a better place.
Yeah, again, my generation, whatever, but we were raised, or at least, I'm sorry, I was raised, and again, I had, family challenges and all that, but I don't know, my dad instilled in me, like, respect for women. You are the man in the room. I mean, and I don't mean that cocky, or it's just you're there. People
It's
know.
your duty.
Yeah, and it's your job. Yeah, it's your duty, your job to do that. You're not. I mean, the way you carry yourself, you're a representation of your family. You're a representation of your gender. You represent all those different things, and then you're also, every action or inaction is, that's something that's supposed to be remembered, 300 years from now. Like, the whole Japan concept of thinking is that, if you commit something bad or do something bad, it's a generational stain on your family.
Yeah.
Forever.
You're dishonoring them.
Yeah, you're dishonoring them. And honor, well, that's another word that seems to have gone out the window over the decades. It's horrible that we're now in a society where men and women they have just different. Again, they don't know their role. Oh, okay, here we go. From my better half, he does it every time. My favorite is when we walk down the street, and he always makes sure he's on the outside. Little things
Look
like
at
that.
you.
Yeah, actually, we were. Oh boy, funny story. We met some friends down in the city. And as we were walking, we come around the corner, and I'm like, wait, I jump over the other side, and she looks at me, she goes, oh, I thought that was just over now. We went like 2 or 3 feet with her on the outside, and I'm like, whoa, get over your, and people, those things are gone. And I mean, well, speaking for my wife, she didn't have that. She's been married before as I. She didn't have that, and then when I brought that to that, she was appreciative, and that let her know that she can be calm and comfortable around that, and it's kind of show her important role as well in the relationship. I know I'm going on a tangent. It's just something that.
Well, what you're getting at is that you're getting at, like, here's a couple things that men have to notice and men have to understand. This is what I teach men when I do masculinity coaching with them. Just because women don't say something doesn't mean they don't think it. Women are always thinking something, but they don't always say it. Okay. And usually when they do, it's because they're to the point now to where it's just become almost insulting or just obvious. And they have to hit us on the head with a hammer there, metaphorically. Right. So what I mean by that is that women are going to be watching and shit testing their men, especially in the dating process, to see what kind of caliber of man that she's got in front of her. right? And so she's looking for him to lead. She's looking for those things. I remember being on dates where the woman that I was dating actually said to me, I noticed that you took that seat that faced the door, and I appreciate that. And it kind of made me feel good, but most men do not say that kind of stuff, but I'm sure that they all think it. Here's another example. Look at Dwayne's wife right here.
Oh.
What she says. Here's another example of women watching, and they don't always necessarily say things, but there's an example right there. She hasn't touched a door since she's met Dwayne. I mean, that's a true gentleman right there, right? And Dwayne, you guys have been married for a little bit now. I mean, you haven't been married for a ton of years, but you've been married long enough to get past that initial stage of like the representative showing. Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, this is the kind of man that you are at this point. I mean, you're holding doors, you know, you're making her feel like a woman, and the more masculine of a role you fall into, the more feminine a role she'll fall into.
Right.
And men, we will get upset and we'll start pointing fingers with this red pill content. And listen, I'm a red pill kind of guy. I'm not saying I'm not. But but there's a few double standards that we have to understand, that you can't start pointing fingers at women the entire time. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing your duty and your position as a man, and she has to fill that role, don't get pissed off when she starts clapping back on you and asking a little more masculine. Stand the F up, be the man that you need to be. Take your position and take your leadership role. If you want to lead, then effing lead. But I'll tell you what, man, you know, back to the masculinity thing, you know, what I'm noticing, I don't know if you've noticed this, Dwayne, but I'm noticing there's a lot less male role models around. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, like, you know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, I got to meet one of mine, but yeah, there's not, you don't see it today. The masculine role models, they act more feminine than men. And I don't mean, well, I guess in that one, I do mean it as almost an insult. But I mean, I do firmly believe that, you know, the feminine role is a very powerful and strong role. And there's all those pieces in there. I guess it's more the guy talk version of them. They act more girly. They don't act like men, and they don't represent men ideas and the center. I'm trying to find the right word, but you look at him and you go, you're not a man. They're not
radiating that masculine aura.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Now, I was young in the 80s, but I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and back in the 80s, there was, you know, there was plenty. I mean, from the 80s and before, there was plenty of masculine role models. You know, you had Chuck Norris, you had Steven Seagal, you had
Chuck Norris,
who's the guy that does the splits, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, you had Schwarzenegger and the guy that you met the other day, Lou Ferrigno.
Let me put that up there.
You got that picture of you and Lou? Check this out, guys. Look at that.
The Incredible Hulk, for those that may not recognize that.
Now take a look at Lou Ferrigno. Now, don't give his age out yet. Don't give his age out. I'm going to make a point here. Lou Ferrigno is in better shape than most 20-year-olds out there, and that dude is 71 years old.
Yeah.
He's 71. Yeah. Some of these guys out there are 25 years old, and they're bitching like little girls that they're tired of going to the gym, and they've been to the gym no longer than 6 months. This dude has been exercising for 50 years. Well, and he still grinds.
One of the things that really was an inspiration for me with Lou, because it was great meeting such an inspiration, is that when he was a young boy, he got a illness and became deaf. So he's been deaf pretty much his entire life.
That's
but
right.
He didn't he turned that pain into purpose. He overcame, you know, because he could have easily went, oh, you know, you're deaf, we're gonna you know, coddle you your entire life. And I know I'm sounding a little mean right now, and the reason I am a little mean about that is my brother is deaf. And so that was another tie-in why I like Lou Ferrigno, and I kept using his example with my brother, saying, look, this guy had, you know, he was served you know, bad thing of cards. He turned it around. He said, I'm not gonna let this stop me, and he kept going. And look what he did. 2-time Mr. Universe champion. You know, in so many movies, he's the freaking Hulk, for God's sake. I mean,
he's one of my favorite bodybuilders.
Oh yeah. I would actually. He's bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger physically back in the day. Well, he won Mr. Universe 2 years in a row.
How tall are you, Dwayne?
Oh, this is going to get into that embarrassing conversation. I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day.
So he's about what, 6'1"?
Well, it says he was 6'4".
Yeah, no, that's why I'm asking, because he doesn't look
obviously
6'4".
7. Yeah, I used to be 5'11". Now I'm down to 5'10", 5'9".
Yeah. Every man used to be taller in the past and on their dating profiles, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens. Mine's just age.
I got lucky, man. I mean, when I put 6'6" on my dating profile, I'm a legit 6'6". I'm as tall as Michael Jordan. That's the one thing people realize when they first meet me is like, my God, look at the size of that guy. But look at Richie coming through with the very first super chat. The very first super chat. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, man. You go down in history. If I had the dollar bill, I'd post it on my wall right now. Thank you, bro. Listen, totally a fangirl right there.
Here we go.
Total fangirl.
But yeah. So where I was going with this is there's been a massive decline in the masculine male role models for men, and I think men are struggling to define what a manly man even kind of looks like in today's world. So with that being said, let's kind of jump into it. Let me kind of help everyone understand the qualities and traits that men who hold a masculine frame possess. Like I mentioned, the reason why I'm doing this podcast today is because there's been a few people that say, Jim, you mentioned masculine frame a couple times. Can you define what that masculine frame means? Well, let's do it. Let's talk about what a masculine frame actually means. A man with a masculine frame is strong and he's powerful, but he's still able to control his emotions. Just like Jordan Peterson said, I think he said it great. He said, you want to be a dangerous man, but you want to have that completely under control. A masculine man who has a masculine frame is composed, he's calm, and he exudes confidence. Women are attracted to this kind of manhood and they respond positively to his aura. It's that aura that you were talking about before. And I've noticed that men either admire these kind of men or they despise these kind of men. And we both kind of know why they either admire or despise them. In terms of like human interaction, maintaining frame refers to the meaning you place on a particular interaction and how you define what's going on. Like emotionally, frame is experienced as confidence, assertiveness, and self-composure, basically. You probably heard me mentioning maintaining your frame, and that means that no matter the situation that you're in, no matter who is what is trying to take you off center, you maintain your composure. You're slow to anger. You think about your words, and when you speak, your words are powerful. That's what I mean mostly when I say maintain your frame. Guys, we have all the spectrum of emotions that women have, but the ones that we tend to express the most is like horniness, hunger, anger. We're like caveman. If we had a club in our head, be horny, drag you to cave, eat, So what we want to do is we want to be really careful on how we express these types of emotions, because a truly masculine man who maintains frame does not allow the world around them to manipulate them. Just like we don't allow media and news to manipulate our thinking, or we don't want to, just like men will never take a knee and become slaves. We don't do that. I'll die by the sword before I do. Well, the weapon of choice by a lot of people in today's world of 2023, and especially the weapon of choice by women, is the emotional intelligence that the world around us has to make us more emotional and therefore react to what they're doing. So if you're a man who maintains frame, then you maintain your composure and you're slow to anger. You think about your words. And like I mentioned, when you do speak, your words are powerful. You are assertive and confident that you can and will handle all situations. Just like whenever we talked about the restaurant situation, I walk in, I've assessed the situation. There's very little to minimal threats. I'm watching the door. I know where the exits are. There's a calmness about me. And like I said, if chaos manifests itself, I'm going to react in a calm way. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to start screaming. I'm not going to get all crazy. I'm going to grab my chick and we're going to go. And if I can't grab my chick and we're going to go, then I'm going to grab the knife, slide it under my table, and shake a dude if he comes too close to my table. I mean, that's what we do. So we have to understand that this is particularly important when dealing with your woman also, because when your woman is taunting you or acting out of line, you have to maintain frame. You have to handle her with a direct calmness. Be direct, but be calm, and never allow her to take you off center. Because when she realizes that she can manipulate your emotions, she will. The only weapon that a woman really has is her cunning and her intellect. It's not her physical prowessness. It's not her ability to dominate. It's her mind. It's her cunning, her intellect. And when she realizes that she cannot control you with her emotions and sly manner, then she's powerless. That's why I oftentimes teach that whenever your woman steps off center, steps out of line, leave. Be always willing and able to just get up and leave. Because if you leave the situation and don't allow her to manipulate your emotions, she is powerless to you. So as far as masculinity, as far as being a masculine man, when you look at some of the most masculine men on the planet, you know, these guys, they all have some things in common, right? These men are always focused on their goals, they're focused on their work, they're focused on their mission. When you think of like some of the most masculine men we know, men that come to mind are like Harrison Ford, Sean Connery, John Wayne. Yeah. John Wayne, Denzel Washington, Al Pacino, Wesley Snipes. What's the big dude? Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Like,
you meant Dwayne Ward?
Oh yeah, Dwayne Ward.
Here we go. Okay, just want to make sure you.
The Baby Rock. The Pebble. Dwayne Ward. The Pebble.
I deserve
Dwayne
that
Johnson,
one.
The Rock. So these men, you know, they're all different ages, they're different sizes, you know, they come from different parts of the world, but they all have one thing in common. Yeah, Stallone's definitely a good one. Like even Stallone, like whatever it is that they're focused on, these men that I just mentioned, they're focused like a laser and nothing stops them from reaching their goals. They're confident and they don't get taken off their paths by simple pleasures like food, fun, women. They don't let those things divert their purpose and their goals. These guys are focused on it. When it comes to men's biggest distraction, which is women, these men don't care a whole lot about women. Think about the men I just mentioned. You think these guys are chasing women? They chase their meaning, and in return, women chase them. Here's a saying that I really like. The alpha thinks about his mission. Women think about the alpha, and betas think about women.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see these guys like, you know, simping over women. And it's weird because it's like they do that, but then the women are all like chasing them, and they'll ignore the average guy and go after the guys that, you know, that won't give them a time of day. It's like I don't know. It's almost like, you know, they're caught in the tractor beam, the gravity of the guy's masculinity or something like that. I don't get it, but they do that. But then women love them. It's just one of those unsolvable mysteries to me, because they would bypass. But I guess what's weird is that these simp men think that they're going to get the woman, but the woman's never going to have interest in them. They go after the guys that are, you know, focused, and, you know, they're on their they got their plan. And they're on it. You mentioned earlier, ambitious. You know, a lot of women like ambitious men, and a lot of times in a positive sense, sometimes in a negative sense, but that's what they radiate towards. That energy, that gravitational.
These guys have swagger, man. I mean, they've got swagger. They radiate masculinity. None of these men are feminine. You know, women just love them. And here's what I've noticed. There's two types of people, right? You got men, you got women. If you're a man, you should be masculine. If you're a woman, you should be feminine. Masculinity and femininity are both good. Masculinity is good for men. Femininity is great for women. Men being masculine and women being feminine are good for mankind, and has helped us take us to where we're at today. I mean, we fall into our natural gender roles. But the thing about it is, we live in strange times right now. I mean, too many women are trying to be masculine, and too many men are just feminine. It's like Bizarro world is flipped on its head. A masculine man is an asset to his community and his family. period. Whereas a feminine man is a liability to his community and his family. Masculinity is not toxic. I don't care what anyone says. I'm tired of hearing that shit. Masculinity is not toxic. All the modern comforts that we enjoy are the fruits of masculinity.
Right.
And isn't it kind of funny that it's always the most masculine women claiming that masculinity is toxic? Have you noticed that? The women who are the ones complaining that masculinity is toxic are always the most masculine women. Masculinity is what makes a man different than a woman. By the way, guys, don't forget to support and like the page. The likes are down a little bit. Hit that like button for us, and please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to Dad Talk Today. Dwayne and Eric do a really good job posting a lot of great content during the week, and then I'm on Sunday. So be sure to hit the bell next to the icon, next to the subscribe button, please. So let's talk about something different. Okay, so let me think. How do you know? How do you know a man is masculine? Okay, so let's just kind of spell out some, because some of these guys out here today, man, I tell you, I love my boys, I love my men, but damn, man, some of you men out there, man, you guys just take that shit to the extreme. I'll say one thing, and then you're like, oh, okay, well then I'm gonna just, you want me to ignore women and not, say too much on a date? Cool, then I won't say shit. Okay, that's not what I said. Okay, I didn't say ignore women, don't say too. You talk on a date, but you don't have to take it to the extreme. So when I say exude masculinity, I don't want you out there doing splits and kicking people in the face like Jean-Claude Van Damme. I want you to radiate an aura of masculinity. So let's talk about, how do you know a man is masculine? So masculine men are not going to all fit the same mold, first of all, okay? But they do have a few things in common. Things like a healthy confidence, a willing to laugh at themselves, a gracious attitude, and an obvious comfort for being in their own skin. A masculine guy will not need to pull special moves in order to prove his masculinity. It'll be innate. So what we got on the screen right now are five, five masculine energy traits. These are 5 things that I've kind of put together that are energy traits with masculine energy. And here's some examples. Number 1, assertiveness and boldness. If you want to be a masculine man, you're going to have to be bold, and you're going to have to be assertiveness. You're going to have to carry assertiveness. Assertiveness is being emotionally honest, direct, self-enhancing, and expressive, okay? He feels confident. He stands straight. He's steady. He's directly facing the people to whom you're speaking with while you're making eye contact. That's what assertiveness and boldness means. The second one is confidence and self-assurance. You cannot be masculine without having a confident aura about you. Feeling sure of yourself and your abilities, but not in an arrogant way, but in a realistic, secure way. Authentic confidence is definitely a hallmark of masculine energy. So make sure that you and your abilities, you're confident in yourself and you're confident in your abilities. And that's why it's really hard for men in their 20s to be masculine type of men, because in order for you to feel sure of yourself and your abilities, you got to let the world kick you in the balls a few times, and you got to get back up and try again. Yeah. That's why I see a lot of really big masculine, more masculine men in their latter 20s, 30s, and 40s, because life has had a way of kind of grinding them down and hardening these men. The third thing about masculine energy that you have to be able to have is logic and objectivity. Objectivity is representing real objective. Listen to me. Okay, listen to me. Listen to me what I'm saying, guys. It's representing real, objective, not subjective, objective truth, despite your opinion. Okay. Right. Being objective means not being influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. That's what the Oxford English Dictionary defines as objective. It's the number 1 main difference between the masculine and the feminine, because women are oftentimes very subjective. They are greatly influenced by their feelings and emotions, and they'll alter the truth to make it fit their feelings about reality. That's why I keep saying that women run their logic through their emotions first. Okay. So, women, they are greatly influenced by their feelings. So instead of facing the truth of that reality, they'll alter it. This is why women make bad financial and relationship decisions, and they likely always will. No heat, no judgment. But let's be honest, women do a really bad job, most, not all, at picking the right man, because they're not picking these men objectively, they're picking them subjectively. So what does that mean? It means they're picking these men off of how they feel about them instead of them matching up with the type of resume that they really need in a man that they should want. That's why when brothers and fathers vetted women's men, these women were more likely to live 50, 60 years in a successful marriage with these men, because they're not chasing the bad boy who's going to break their heart in a couple weeks. So
I wanted to kind of interrupt there. Actually, there's great, thing throughout that, but actually, I like watching trash TV, 90 Day Fiance, and they get people that are
you really watch that stuff.
Oh, religiously. That and Love After Lockup. Wife and I, it's kind of one of our rituals, and we talk smack during the entire thing. But they talk about arranged marriages in different cultures, and I don't know. I mean, and of course, actually, for the Christians, and the Bible talks about having parents involved with that. But the arranged marriages, I know it has a negative connotation to it, but is it really that bad? I mean, if you were to bring your prospective spouse or who you were courting to your parents, the dad and the mom who knows you and knows their person can hopefully objectively provide, like, hey, this is a good fit for you, or this isn't a good fit for you. Yeah. But people today, they're like, oh no. I mean, my dad told me with my first wife, well, I can't repeat a lot of it, but and I went, oh, you're wrong, Dad. I know better. And how that turned out. But is it wrong? I'd love to hear, maybe hear comments or whatever. Cause I know, people telling me who I should marry. I don't think it's that bad of an, arranged marriage. I'm sure there are those, but having your parental input into that decision. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that I understand why women have always been against having males make the decisions for them on who to, let's say, love. Right. But I will tell you this. There have been far more success stories by having men vet women's men than there have been horror stories. And the reason why is because remember we talked about on a podcast that if women want to get advice from men who have no motive. They don't, meaning that not the ex-boyfriends who want to clap cheeks again, not the men who are trying to hit that crap. Talk about your brothers, guys like us who are not trying to sleep with you, or fathers or things like that, because these men, they truly, honestly love you and care for you. And they want a father's innate desire is to take his daughter, who he's been providing for and protecting, his most prized possession, and he has to hand her over to another man who's going to be taking his responsibility for providing and protecting.
Right.
He's not going to give that to a Chad that is some slick-tongued Rico Suave.
Right.
He's going to give it to a Dwayne that can provide and protect, that's going to love. That's going to be a stand-up dude, and she may not think that, one guy is as handsome as the other guy, but I'll tell you what, she's going to have a long, healthy, loving marriage for the rest of her life, getting with a guy like Dwayne rather than a guy like Chad. So by and large, men are more about probability and women are more about possibility. And so the probability is that when you leverage the men who truly love you to help you vet your men, the probability is you're going to find a better man, period. Now, as far as arranged marriages go, completely different subject, right? There's been plenty of times that arranged marriages were done for status. Status, land, armies, uniting armies.
Right.
Sometimes they would take the daughter of one enemy and the son of another enemy and put them together so that way they don't have to kill each other in bloodshed.
Right. Yeah, those are
completely different type of situation. Not saying I'm that's a whole nother story, but I'm referring to women bringing home 3 guys and the dad helping vet which one of the 3.
Right.
So going back to the masculine energy, right? I think we're on number 4. risk taking, action taking. Guys, you're going to have to take risks, because if you're going to be, we all know that women, especially in today's world, are going to be hypergamous. They're looking for the top tier of men. They want ambition.
Yeah.
They don't want a guy who's just average. They want the best possible guy they can get for their sexual marketplace value. And if you're going to be a stand-up guy, if you're going to make it up that line, that chain, you're going to have to take some risks in life. Risks means taking a chance, trying something new, and honestly, possibly failing or possibly succeeding. But the chances are you're going to fail a whole lot more than you succeed. But we all must experience risks in our lives. Taking chances is one of the most crucial ways of helping to advance one's skills and gaining experience. That's why I go back to saying you cannot be high value in your 20s as a man. I'm sorry.
Right.
Guys in your 20s, you're not high value. You cannot be high value in your 20s because you don't make enough money, likely, to be high value.
Right.
But even if you did, you don't possess the personal infrastructure needed to be high value, and that comes with both. In addition to being that, you have to have a social network, which you likely do not as well. There's a lot of things that make a man a high value, a high octane type of guy. Right. You cannot be 24, 27 years old and be a high value man. It's almost impossible to. You don't become high value until you start getting into your 30s. Okay. The last thing, disciplined, structured, and self-controlled. That's the final attribute of a masculine energy trait. It's the ability to control or carefully control the way that you work, live, and behave. That's pretty much what it is, especially to achieve a goal. You cannot achieve anything substantial in this life without discipline. That's why men have a hard time with today's modern church, because there's no structure and discipline. There's no accountability. And that's why men usually, we have built the world that we live in because we are disciplined and we're careful with the way that we do things. We measure twice and we cut once kind of a mentality. But it's an orderly or prescribed conduct or pattern of behavior. That's what self-control really means. So, guys, those are the 5 masculine traits that I would share with you guys on how to basically get ahead and be a little bit more masculine. Let's talk about why men are so feminine. How about that?
Okay. Well, actually, we do have a question from Deborah asking you, before we jump into that, what Jimmy has to say about dating someone who has totally different spiritual beliefs and how they navigate that and the conversation.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because I will tell you this. Actually, Deborah, there is, I'm going to be going over today, ironically, 5 really important traits. It's the book that I'm writing on. It's 5 traits that you have to pretty much have down in order to be successful in a relationship. And one of them is your spirituality. We will be talking about that today, but I'll go ahead and touch on it just really quick. It's going to be almost impossible to pull that off. It's possible. It's just not probable. Okay. And here's why. Because if you look at the Bible, like let's say you're a Christian, then the hierarchy goes like this. The children, good morning, Marie. The children report to the mother reports to the husband, and the husband reports to the Lord. That's the hierarchy of how it goes in the Christian faith. And most women will want a man to lead. And if he leads, he's leading in the family's careers and their health and their wealth and their friends and family, and also their spirituality. You can't be going in 2 different directions with spirituality, because what are you going to do? You're going to go to 2 different churches on Sunday?
Well, the good book says, about being unequally yoked. And I mean, there's actually the New Testament specifically has a lot to say about that. I'm sure we'll either bring that up or maybe for a later episode. That's actually an area that I had spent a lot of time in years ago, not now, years ago.
I will say this. Those 2 people, Deborah, they have to get on the same page. They do. Yeah. They've got to get on the same page. One's going to have to convert to the other to raise the probability of success there, because, Dwayne can talk about this way better than I can when it comes to what are the duties and responsibilities of marriage vows. And when it comes to like the courts and things like that, and I believe Dwayne would probably tell you that part of the benefit of being married is that one person can take on the health part of decision making when one person is in a coma or sick
right.
or things like that, right?
Spouse,
So
yeah.
what happens if him and her are polar opposites on the spectrum of spirituality, and he falls into a coma and she's got to make decisions on life type of stuff, and her religion looks different.
Reboot her phone.
I mean, you could get into a really bad spiritual trick bag there, and you would be likely going against his spiritual wants and needs or things like that. There's some religions that will say, hey, don't resuscitate me, and there's some that says you can, and it's just, guys, it's a slippery slope, and I just don't see it really working. Could it? Yeah. Has it? Sure. But has it failed more than it succeeded? Absolutely. As far as why men are so feminine today, in today's world, we live surrounded by women, honestly, not men. I mean, from early on, a young boy, think about this. When a young boy is born, okay, he's often raised by a woman in today's world, more than any other time in history. When he's old enough for school, he enters a school system where it's dominated by women. Yep. Women dominate the teaching and the faculty in school. He moves into middle school, and where he's again greeted by predominantly women. The middle school and the grade school are basically the same. As this boy begins to develop, he's raised in a feminine way. His teacher sometimes demonizes masculine traits while rewarding his feminine traits. So these young boys start to begin to struggle with masculinity, and he's taught to be warm, and he's taught to be soft, and he's taught to love, and he's taught to care. Now, I'm not saying you don't want these traits. What I'm saying is that's not what you want to shove down a boy's throat when he's trying to become a man. You don't teach soft and love and care. You teach that to your daughters. You teach get the F up and rub some dirt on it to your boys. Because the beast inside of him is confused. And this is oftentimes this leads to outlashings of emotions and lack of focus in school.
Right.
If, I don't want to go down to this slippery slope in today's podcast, but have you noticed that a lot of these school horrors happen by boys who are in single mother households?
There's a large number of them. There has been some missed reports, but there are a decent number of them, enough to definitely look at that as having some causality there. But that's the data is very clear. Actually, for those out there, 23% of all children in the United States are from single family households. We are number one by far in that area. Other countries around 7%, but we are by far that. And when actually my wife and I were talking about this just yesterday, but when you look at the numbers, millennial parents, 68% now of all children being born are to single family homes. And those numbers are getting worse / bigger.
They're just getting worse, aren't they? I mean, so when you have these boys and they're taught to suppress their masculinity and they're praised to talk about, love and caring and things like that, then what's the outcome? The outcome is that he's focused on love, and he starts to, crushes that he has in school off these girls. And so what you find is these guys in school who are focused on love and crushes, and the girls in school are focused on studies and her goals.
And we see that today too. The data, more women now are getting advanced degrees than men.
Correct. 60% of all bachelor's degrees are by women. Yep. So you got these girls in school who are raised to be a little bit more masculine, and they're focused on their goals, their purpose, which is what men should be focused on. Guys are raised to be feminine and soft and all these things, and they're focused on love crushes, and they're failing in school. Guys, get the likes up, please. I mean, we're not even at half of the likes for the people in this room. Get them up for me, please. Come on. So the beta mindset, okay? If they are being honest with themselves, I'm referring to the boys and men, they will tell you that they are envious of very highly productive men. The beta men, if they're being honest, they'll tell you that they are envious of these highly productive men because they want to be more like them. They want to be strong. They want to be disciplined. So in typical beta fashion, what he'll do is he'll take to social media and he'll put down the productive men in an effort to diminish his hard work and make him feel better as he hides behind some righteous stance of equality and demonizing masculinity, calling it toxic. That's the world we live in, guys. Tell me I'm freaking lying. These beta dudes, that's exactly the tactics that they use. They want to be like us, but they can't They're either unable or unwilling to put the work in. So they'll go to social media and they'll stand behind these, hard stances of like righteous equality and demonizing masculinity. But all it is they're just a bunch of little bees, little cry little babies, and they just want to be more manly and they can't. So at the end of the day, when it's nothing more than jealousy of the man that he wishes he was, then what we see is that these betas online every day defending women's bad behavior. They're defending lazy, overweight women, and they're calling them beautiful even when they're not. Defending previously debunked topics like wage gap and gender confusion and all this crap that I've got to watch on social media. They defend that stuff because these men who are beta cannot attract the kind of women that they want. So we call them simps and we call them white knights because these pathetic men are on social media and they think that if they defend the stances of these feminist type of women, that these women are going to hit them up in their DMs going, oh my God, you are the kind of man I want. Bullshit. These guys are going to just be as lonely and they're going to have dry eggplants that night like they had a dry eggplant the night before. Okay, they ain't getting none. So let's understand. Let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Let's help everyone understand where you stand because, like I mentioned before, we all need to kind of know where we stand. I've oftentimes criticized women on their sexual marketplace value and talk about how women are delusional. We talked about that many times. Well, let's go on down the men's road this time. Let's start clapping a little back on the men. Men, I want you to do a task with me today, okay? And I want you to do this on purpose, okay? I've learned this task a while ago from another podcaster, so I want the men listening to grab something to write with, a piece of paper, okay? Yes, I'm talking about you. The men that are listening right now, grab something to write with, okay? Don't play games with me. We're going to do this together. And if you want to learn, I'm not going to ask you to do a whole lot of writing, you freaking imbeciles, barbarians. Just grab something to write with, okay? And I want the men listening to this to do a little quick task. It'll take a couple minutes. Go ahead right now and grab your piece of paper. And Dwayne has pulled up a little chart, and I just drew this real quick before we went on there. I want you guys to draw just one rectangle box, not three. Just draw one rectangle box like the one that you see up top. And on the left side of that box, write an F, and that F stands for feminine. On the right side of the box, write an M. That M stands for masculine, okay? If you're closer to the F, this means that you're thinking about love, relationships, and you're submissive. You're constantly thinking about the girl that you're in love with, almost neurotic, and you'll have some like desire to like make her happy because this is how you feel fulfilled. Okay.
What if you're married to her?
Yeah, that changes.
I just wanted to clear that up and get some brownie points. So
yeah, no, that's fair. I should. That's a fair point. I'm referring to the men who are really kind of not married because when you become married, you become a union. And you have to mold in order to make both people happy. I'm referring more to the men who are on the dating market right now that are trying to attract the highest quality of women. I guess talking about their sexual marketplace value, this more holds to them, but married men can certainly still do this task. Now, the more you push to the right, the more you push over to the M, you're thinking about your work, your goals, your mission, and your purpose. So you'll be focused on thinking about your studies, your career, or what tasks you need to do next. You'll be laser focused on tasks like the gym, almost stoic in personality, dedicated on achieving the results you set out to achieve. Now, the more you push out to the ends means the more extreme you are and the more that you are that thing, the feminine or masculine, of course. Now, if you're in the middle of the bar, then you're kind of a combo of those two things. So next, here's what I want to do. I want you to draw now listen to me before you do it, guys. Listen to me, okay? Draw a star of where you want to be, not where you are, where you want to be. Now, on the third illustration, draw a vertical line where you think you are now. So you should have a box, F on the left, M on the right. A star should represent where you want to be, and a vertical line should represent where you are now. So with everybody looking at what they just put down, if you've ever wanted proof on how detrimental it is for boys to grow up without fathers around, I'm going to give it to you. Imagine if Dwayne and I could rise up high enough to see all the results of the men in our country when they did this task right here. What you would undoubtedly see would be a nation filled with men wishing they were more masculine. That's what you would see. We would see a universal desire for males to want to become more manly. This is proof that masculinity has been suppressed by young men from an early age. That's proof. Let's talk about the war on masculinity, because that falls right into line. Dwayne, thank you for posting that. So there is a war on masculinity, and this war starts early on with single mother households, the foods that we eat, and even the products that we buy, including our educational system. Now, I'm not saying that these people and these things are purposely out to get you. I don't think that they're necessarily purposely doing it. But I honestly think that our mothers, I really do think that our mothers want to raise strong men. I just don't think that it's in their DNA. I think it's more in their DNA to coddle and protect their children. And this, unfortunately, leads to soft men that go from the care of their mothers to the care of their wives. And these are not men who ever provide, protect mentality. Let me say that again for the people in the back. I know that most women's goal and game plan is to raise men, but women can't raise men because biology, like innately, they just want to love and coddle and protect, and that's what makes women special. That's why we need them. But if they don't take a harder stance, then they're going to raise feminine men. If they do take a harder stance, then they're more unattractive to the men that they want because they're too masculine. Women are kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't, if you think about it. That's why women get very stressed under a single mother household, because they don't really want to do the job of the father. And that goes down a whole other path of, okay, well, we got to pick better men then, but we'll talk about that another time. But women raise feminine men and masculine women. That's what they do. And no one wants that in their mate. From the mothers who raised you to the teachers who taught you, you are raised, men are raised to be weak. They're raised to be feminine and submissive. Submissive. A man? No, not this one.
Right.
So you just have to understand that if you're led to think that being masculine is toxic and evil, and you are conditioned to be the beta that women complain about when they get older, then women, whether it's moms or teachers, they are raising the very men that they're complaining about.
Yeah, I mean, the stats, the data, all the information's out there. And when you were talking about the women raising men and or raising boys and not being equipped to do it, and some people may have a may not 100% understand that or think, oh, well, everyone can do everything. I was in the exact opposite situation. Of course, I had boys, biological boys, and I say that I always use the bio and bonus. When I got remarried, I got a bonus daughter, not the whole other biology thing. But I raised my boys. You need both. I mean, there's things that men bring to it and things that women bring to it. And I saw that on the reverse part of it because I was raising my boys who were boys to be men. And then when I met Brandy, my wife, she brought the feminine piece to it, which has really enhanced who they are. They have the guy stuff. They know to protect. They've been instilled, never put your hands on a woman, protect, support, all the guy stuff, holding the door open. Oh my God. My oldest, his girlfriend now about had a heart attack when he opened the door for her. She just, they were like 19, 20 years old. Anyway, but she brought so much to the family with her femininity. And it's a very strong thing. So, when you're talking about that, and of course you have people that are like, oh, well, wait, it's, I can talk about it from the other side. I wasn't able to provide my boys with that other part, the feminine part they were missing.
Yeah.
And that's what Brandy, a female, was able to bring to the table and help guide them and make them much better productive human beings. Ideally they deserve, they need to have both. That's ideally, And actually, there's some stats here.
Yeah,
When
and
you take
Mike and Rich were saying it perfectly. Let me show what Mike just said. So Mike was saying that these boys are made to feel like they're a replacement for dad. And then Rich was talking about how stats do better under single family households. So Dwayne, go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, well, to Aaron's point, that is, and I know this will probably may upset a lot of women out there, but I've done research on this because there's bills that are coming through various areas, and I like to be informed. So I'm like, let's go to the research and see the data. From what all the information I gathered, summing it up here for you, is that the tender years doctrine has a lot of good truth to it. When children are from 1 to 3 years old, they benefit primarily from being around the mother. The father, needs to be there, to have that bond. But as far as primary, the highest level, it's at 3 or 1 to 3, the mother is it. I mean, that's just the data's there.
Yeah.
What gets weird, or it's not weird, but no one wants to talk about this, is as the child gets older and has had that around 7 years old on up through their adulthood, they exclusively benefit overall by the data is just overwhelming from being around the dad primo only. Other research has shown that the worst place you could have a child, or for a child to be, is with a single mother. I mean that there's no getting around that. We just like to celebrate. The social media likes to celebrate single motherhood and mom. But the data, it's not even close. And of course, well, here's the counter, or the flip side of that, but showing the same amount of data. I mean, 63%, actually, this is on my website. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. It's 5 times the average. That's a cold, hard fact. Actually, it has all the where the data came from, and This is all government data. But 63%, it's 5 times. I mean, children that are raised without their fathers, this is what happens to them. And they have I'm trying to remember if they have the mental. Well, we see it on the news every night. Mental issues are on the rise. ADHD is getting provided for everybody. All these other prescriptions and stuff. That's what fatherless homes have created, and it's not to the absence of motherless or to motherless homes. It's by removing the dad. These are the things that have happened, not wishful thinking. This is the data. 70% of youth in in-state operating institutions come from fatherless homes. You talk to most anyone that's in prison, they came from a fatherless home. I wonder if it has
7 times more likely to drop out of school, 10 times more likely for all adolescent patients in subjective abuses and rehabs come from fatherless homes. So the people who are in substance abuse rehab are 10 times more likely to come from a single mother household. I mean, these stats are just overwhelming right here.
The concerning one for women that want to, crinkle their nose is the 80% of grapists. We have to change our words for YouTube and social media. They'll strike you, but 80% of rapists that they came from a fatherless home. Well, just think, they didn't have a dad that taught them, don't put your hands on a woman, respect a woman. This you have honor, you have morals, you have structure, you have all these things. They never got that. They got to watch rap videos or hang out with their buddies that don't know any better. This is what happens. Let's see, 11 times the average. 85% of all children who show behavior disorders come from fatherless homes, 15 times the average. 85% of all youth in prison from fatherless homes. I mean, look at our juvenile prisons and all that. I mean, the data is there. 90% of all homeless and runaway children fatherless homes. 24 times the average. I think it's actually worse now, that one, but it's getting worse. And it says your dads are more than just a paycheck to a child. Unfortunately, that's the way our government, how they treat, they look at us as men as a paycheck. And
have you seen the stats, or have you read the stats about testosterone levels dropping?
There was a couple studies out there that, with soy being introduced,
like some plastics that are suppressing testosterone.
Yeah, I mean, the foods that we're eating, the things that we're wearing. I mean, there's the data's the reports that are coming out is that it's overall the percentages it's lowering for men, and well, you can see it.
So I've done a little research this week on it because
Uh-huh.
it was brought to my attention, and I wanted to make sure I could kind of speak about it. So this is kind of what I found. And men, let me tell you something that's going to be a little bit hard for you to hear.
Hmm.
You are not half the man that your great grandfather was. Your
Literally.
testosterone level is about a third less than it was when he was around, and your sperm count is at an all-time low. So our
Wow.
testosterone continues to drop in men, and our sperm counts continue to drop. Did you know that there's actual studies done on a man's handshake, and the grip strength of men is at an all-time low as well?
I was going to ask. It's crazy. I was going to ask you this earlier when you were talking about, things that men should do, and I was going to ask you, one, what was like one of the things that irked you about, when you see someone not doing a man thing?
Yeah.
One, and there's a couple, but one of the things that bugs me is when men do not stand up to shake another's hand.
Yeah.
Like they'll shake your hand from sitting down. And I'm like, dude, unless you're in a wheelchair, you stand up, because they misunderstand what the whole handshake is about.
So 2 days ago, I was in the gym.
Uh-huh.
I'm hitting arms. I'm on this, in the freeway section next to all the dumbbells. You got all the benches, right? So I grabbed the one that's available. There's this dude that's next to me. He's all joked, man. I mean, he's all jacked up. I mean, his arms are probably like 3 inches bigger than mine. He's looking good, bro. And I think that men really need to compliment each other. Like, let's not be like,
Do it the right way, though.
you walk by and you do this. That's a universal respect, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I give him one of these things, right? And then we're working out things like that, and we're both in between sets, and I look over him and I take my earpiece out. So I go, hey, bro. He takes his earpiece out and go, hey, man, you're making me look bad. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you can't be coming in here with arms bigger than mine. You're going to make me stay in here for another 2 hours. I made some little joke, right? So I was complimenting the guy on his arms, right? Saying, I said, bro, you look good. Keep it up. Hard work, dedication, respect, And he was like, well, fucking look at your arms, And so we did the whole little bromance thing, the little thing we were going on. We did a bromance. We had a moment, him and I. And so when we were done stroking each other's egos, he says, hey, what's your name? I said, Jimmy. And I reached out to shake his hand, and he gave me one of these.
Oh, yeah.
Boom,
No.
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Dude, he put his fingers.
There we go. Sorry.
Oh, man.
He did the finger.
The four, what is that called? The 4-finger thing. Like, dude, grab it like a gun, bro. Like, grab that and thank you.
Yeah.
That boy, like, he gave me his 4 fingers. and I shook his index finger. Yeah, okay, cool. I mean, I was disappointed, man. So this is kind of what I'm talking about here. So there's studies that are actually done on the man's hand strength and grip, and it apparently is also at an all-time low. You little girly mans can't even properly shake with authority anymore. If you guys are giving a dead fish handshake, you are weak and pathetic. Do not, if you meet me out there and you go, hey, that's the guy do not come walking up to me and give me a dead fish handshake. Okay. I will kick you off this channel if you shake my hand shake my hand like a freaking man. But man, I mean, this dude was all jacked up and I'll be honest, I lost a little respect for him. I can't help it. I lost a little respect for him.
Well, I mean, to be a little cheeky here, it's like, going on a date with a, dude and all that stuff. And it's, the end of the evening back in the bedroom time. It's the big letdown. I mean, it's like, yeah, guys, I mean, I'm going to take over, but dude, stand up, look the guy right in the eye, shake his hand like you mean it.
And listen to what Dwayne said. Stand up and shake his hand. Do not sit down and shake a man's hand. Stand up, look him in the eye, and shake his hand. And grab his hand like you're grabbing a man's hand. You're not trying to crush bones here, but do not just put your hand into his hand. Shake his hand like a man, like it was 1890 and we're in the wild, wild west. Shake the damn man's hand. So I'm doing this research, right? And I'm doing this research on testosterone. Like I mentioned before, I'm a clinic director that oversees a medical clinic. So it's kind of right up my alley. And I'm looking into like signs of low T in men. And for you guys who are wondering or questioning, because I got a couple of questions about this as well, let's talk about like the problems if you have low testosterone, because it's an all-time low. And so here's the problems that are going to come with it. Okay. So there'll be some changes in sexual function if you have low testosterone. You'll have a low libido or reduced sexual desire. There is no reason if you are in your 20s or 30s that you don't wake up with a strong eggplant in the morning. If you are waking up and it's a wet noodle down there and you never feel like a man, you likely have low T. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know what the hell that was, but
sorry.
But yeah.
My gavel, my little mini, it's my mini gavel.
Got it. All right.
Do whatever you
Just
got to do with
making
that info.
Just making sure. So, that's one sign is like a low libido or reduced sexual desire. Also, guys, watch and limit. I talked about this before. Watch and limit the amount of porn you watch, because that will also reduce your sexual desire. That could be suppressed because you're suppressing it. Another sign of low T could be erectile dysfunction, decrease in testicle size, a reduced sperm count, and infertility. Physical changes on low T. So that was more of the sexual function changes, but the actual physical changes are things like hair loss, an increased amount of body fat. Yeah, well, you got a full head of hair. Yes, I can still rock some. I just cut it short. It's not because it's thinning. It looks awful. No. It's because it's hot here in Florida. As I wear a jacket. Anyways, so you got increased body fat and weight. You got reduced muscle size and strength. You got enlarged breast size. That's called gyno. You got decreased bone density and low energy levels. Guys, if any of those sound familiar to you, then you might want to consider going to a doctor and getting your testosterone checked. Okay. Hair loss, increase in body fat, decrease in body fat and weight. So your scale's going up, right? Decrease in muscle mass and strength, breast size, bone density loss, and low energy. So what about the emotional effects of low T? The emotional effects is just as awful as the physical ones. The emotional ones could be a decreased motivation or self-confidence. It could be feeling sad or depressed or irritable all the time, having trouble concentrating or remembering. So some of you guys are just assholes, man. You guys are always in a bad mood. You're just, life sucks. Like don't be that guy, man. I mean, if you are finding yourself always down and always out, you have no confidence, you've got no desire, you got no motivation, no ambition, this could potentially be a sign of low T. Now, I'm not your doctor, okay? I am not your doctor. So you're going to have to go to your primary and get blood work done. And what will happen is they'll want you to get your blood work done probably before 10 a.m. because that's when your testosterone levels are at the highest in the morning time. So you'll have to fast. You'll get, and that's why if you're not waking up with a strong eggplant, then there's clearly something wrong, because that's when you should be waking up with it, because that's when your testosterone levels are the highest and they're the lowest in the latter part of the day. So guys, if you are in your 30s and you're feeling this way, it may not be a bad idea to get a checkup from the neck up or maybe from the neck down, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying, because those are, I just give you the physical, the emotional, and the sexual function problems that come with low T, and those are some pretty substantial ones. So let's talk about men. Let's talk about men today, despite testosterone levels or not. Actually, you know what? Before we do, let's go to the comment section. Let's not. This is interactive here, so let's see what we got here. All right, Deborah says one. Hold on, I've got a couple other questions, gentlemen. Did the men's birth control pass FDA? And as this PC garbage gets worse, can a man safely approach a woman in the produce aisle anymore? Oh, safely approach a woman in the produce aisle anymore? I just sense that both men and women are afraid to attempt asking someone out like it used to. So let me touch the first question first. I am unaware of men's birth control passing at FDA. My understanding of the FDA to be approved by it takes 10 years of clinical research and studying on side effects. That's my understanding of it. and of course, a whole bunch of money. Now, setting aside this last vaccine type of stuff that was pushed through quicker, that's a whole nother. Not going to go down that road. I'll piss Dwayne off, and he'll talk for 40 minutes. So,
Yes.
but I am unaware that it has passed the FDA. But man, I cannot wait for male birth control to pass. The problem with male birth control that I understand, though, is that all the male birth controls that have come out are suppressing testosterone, and that's the give and take to it. So that's the rub.
Man.
But as soon as we find a good male birth control, then we're going to start seeing a lot of these single family households start to dwindle because, I mean, if we're just being honest with ourselves, women are making men become fathers that many of them do not want to become fathers. Now, I'm not talking about this, not the man's equal fault and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's a whole nother subject. But let's just be honest with each other, okay? Both men or women are not using protection. They're both raw dogging. I mean, they're not being smart here. But let's be honest, most of these men are not looking to marry these women that they're having babies with. And these women control access to two things: sex and whether or not a child gets brought into this world. Women are making men who are not their husbands into fathers more than they're willing to become wives. And if men are smart and they're getting the snip, or they're at least wearing protection, then they will be a lot less likely to become a check writer for 18 years. So I'm really hopeful that this new male birth control comes out. As far as her second question on whether or not men and women are approaching people in the produce aisle, they're not. At least I'm not seeing it. From what I'm talking about, I'm still constantly having to try to get guys to man up and approach women. In today's click, click, click kind of world, it's the low-hanging fruit is swiping. The harder thing is facing rejection in person. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Kay, women don't truly understand rejection the way that men understand rejection. Men are constantly getting rejected, constantly. Even studies on internet dating, the studies show that over 70% of women find men average or unattractive looking on dating profiles. They think that 70% of men are average looking. Okay, first of all, that don't even line up because average means 50%, but whatever. That's women's logic. But they are only, that just goes to show that everything I've been teaching you guys is right. They only are looking for the top 10, 15%, top 20% of men. And most men are getting, 8 out of 10 men are getting rejected constantly on these social media apps. These guys don't want to get out into the produce aisle and shoot their shot on a Deborah, because when she turns him down, he has to face that rejection face to face. Now, my teaching is as I say, okay, well, let me ask you a question, men, women. If I had to ask you guys, what do you learn more from? Your successes or your failures? Which one would you probably tell me you learn more from? Your failures.
Me personally, failures, yeah.
Yeah, most people would, right?
Right.
So then let's talk logic, men, because we're logic. Then wouldn't it logically make sense to get out there and shoot your shot and miss a few? Because you just get better at it. Plus,
like that didn't work, try it again.
Let me try a different approach,
We're more net throwers.
Yeah, exactly. We are. Yeah, we're net throwers. Let's see what else we got. Yes, I'm sorry about that, Aaron.
Yeah, medication. What are those teenage pregnancy stats and what times? I am sure that one is high.
I'm sure it is, Amanda.
The teen part. Well, millennials are 63, 68%. Are millennials teenagers anymore? I'm Gen X, so they're 3 or 4 behind me. It's high. I have to go check my website. I'm sure I have the data there. Take your hat off to pray or say the pledge. Yeah. Oh boy, trigger moment. Yeah. When we actually both bringing my parents, they're both veterans. We have a spot in our heart for that. Whenever we go to and attend events, there's a certain protocol, and I will look out to the crowd, and there are people with their hats on. I mean, the no respect.
It's just no respect, man. And guys, you have to be a man of honor and respect. That's what we do. Stand up, take that hat off of your fucking head, and stand there and say the Pledge of Allegiance because you're in the best country on this planet and you're not having to worry about where the next meal is going to come from or the next drink of water you come from. We can sit here and talk the shit about how things could be better. Fair enough. But you know what? Most of you guys have never skipped a meal. Most of you guys have always had a roof over your head and cars to drive. Most of us are wealthier than some of the people on this planet. The least you can do is take your damn head off. I don't play that shit. All this COVID social distancing nonsense is destroying the respect for someplace. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. All right, what we got here? Yeah, that's good, Deb. It's good. What does Paul say? What about the arm grab and with the handshake? You know, I like the arm grab with a handshake. I do. Who used to do that? Was it the Greeks or something? Or like the gladiators? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And you know what? Whenever someone is like needs to be pulled up, one thing that irks me is that when someone's pulling them up, they'll grab them by the hand to pull them up. You need to grab them by the wrists and pull them up. But let me digress.
What do you think of the hug, depending upon familiarity, like the bro hug? What are your thoughts on that one?
Oh, listen, I'm a bro hugger, man.
All right, cool. I was getting a little nervous because I'm a bro hugger as well.
No. Listen,
familiarity.
I'm a lover, man. I'm a lover. You know, I'm one of the guys that you hopefully would want around you. I'm always going to be your ride or die, and I'm going to be, you know, the great friend to you. But I'm going to show you that I love you, man. I'm going to give you a bro hug. Speaking of bros, my boy here, Richie. Oh, you finally got your picture lined up. That's good. Look at him, looking all jacked. Your general practitioner will give you the pushback. But yeah, that's good tips. Guys, if you look for Rich Massa, he's a expert personal trainer in the Orlando, Florida area. This guy is a wealth of knowledge. I wish I knew half of what he knew. Okay, someone disagree with me? I disagree on the hair loss. I believe it comes from excessive tea. I'm living proof.
I mean, some of it's your genes. I mean, you have that because even though I had low T, I didn't have issues with hair loss. So I was, you know, and again, I may be the exception rather than the rule. But now again, since I've been on testosterone replacement, I don't know if it's because I'm 50. I got hair growing out my ears, my neck, my back. Well, I mean, stop there before I go into that song. But yeah, a lot of hair.
Out of a song.
Yeah.
So let's get to talking about men today, okay? So men are just really uncompetitive today. They're very unambitious. You know, you could take half the men listening to this podcast, and guys, I'm just going to be direct. I'm going to be a jerk right now, okay? But half of the guys listening to this podcast right now, I could stand you in front of your ancestors, and your ancestors who freaking fought off dangerous predators with spears, survived plagues, starvations, world wars, would stand in front of you listening to your life story and feel nothing but shame. Some of you, they would feel nothing but fucking shame. With all their struggles, all they did to survive, dying of snake bites and tooth infections at 30 years old, building the world that we live in, and they did it all so that you can smoke weed and jack off all day.
Yeah.
They would feel shame, man. Think of the shame they would feel as they listen to somehow these men. Listen to the shame they would feel if they listen to how some of these men complain about how they get no swipes on Tinder and they can't afford to buy a PS5. Like, that's the kind of shame that these ancestors, they were like.
Have you seen that meme or the video where this kid is he had to work either a half a day or a full day, and he's on Insta Snap or whatever crying about it?
Yeah, I saw it. He pitched a damn fit.
I'm like, I'm sure some guy or some old man's going, I stormed Normandy Beach for this.
Right. The first thing I thought about when I saw that video is I went straight back to my old WWE days, and I wanted to choke slam that kid onto the floor. That's the first thing. I was looking for a table, and I'm going to put him through the table. That's what I'm going to do. That's my point. I mean, like, you know, your ancestors, is this honestly what they died for? Like, this is what they've worked so hard for. This is it, huh? This is the kind of behavior that they work so hard for. This is going to be the end of your bloodline, what you're showing, some of you guys are showing. This is what all their sacrifices was for. I mean, do you feel no shame? Like some of you guys, do you feel no shame? Some of your ancestors will look at you and feel like it was all worth it. Some of you guys are just straight stand-up dudes. Some of you guys, your ancestors will look at you and go, you know what? That's a stand-up dude. It was all worth it. But for the rest of you guys, they would look at you in utter disgust. That's just a reality. So ask yourself right now, would your ancestors be proud of you? Would they? If the answer is no, then what the hell do you plan on doing about it? That's my question to you. If you can think of your ancestors and you think they would be ashamed of you, then what the hell are you going to do about it? What are you going to change? What are you willing to change? When are you planning on changing it? For some of you, even your own immediate parents aren't proud of you. And I know that's what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, oh, no, porn and weed don't make me uncompetitive. Wah. Listen, the guys who are saying that shit, you're already lost. Just log off my damn podcast. I can't help you, bro. Can't help you, okay? But, those kind of people who think that those things don't affect, they're perfectly fine with their below average behavior. And if that's you, like I said, just log off, man, because I don't deal with men like that. I deal with men who want to be better. You don't deserve this fine knowledge that I'm dropping on you right now. You are not worthy of all this knowledge.
Yeah.
But for the rest of you that are sitting in silent and you're saying to me right now, yeah, you know what? All right. Jimmy's kind of letting me have it, but he's right. I do need to get up off my ass. For you, there is hope. Those are the kind of men that I want you guys to do something right now. Okay. And I want you to do it right now and not tomorrow, right now. I want you guys to grab that piece of paper again, and I want you to write this shit down. Okay. I want you and I both to know you and I both know half of you guys are too damn dumb to remember half the shit I'm even saying. So I want you guys to write this shit down right now. Okay. You ain't Bradley Cooper in the movie Limitless. Some of you will be lucky if your brain was even running as high as 10%. So write this shit down. So what do you do? How do you become a more productive man? How do you change? Because it's easy for me to say shame on you, but if I'm not giving you ways on how to fix it, then shame on me. Right. So here it is. So I'm going to tell you what the hell to do. You look within. Let me explain. I want you to focus on upgrading the 5 most important areas of your life. Those 5 most important areas of your life are your career, your friends and family, your health, your wealth, and your relationship with God or whomever or whatever you believe in. That's where you focus, okay? Let me give you advice on this. This is the book that I'm writing on right now. I'm probably going to call the book The 5 Pillars of Balance because in my 40-something years of being on this planet, these 5 things that you're reading on this screen right now, these are 5 things that mean so much to your quality of life. And here's one thing that these 5 things have in common. You can't pay someone else to do this for you.
Yeah.
You can't pay me to fix your career, to have a better relationship with your family. You can't pay Dwayne to do cardio for you at the gym and it affects you. You can't pay someone to fix your awful spending habits. And you can't pay anyone to go to church for you or believe in Allah or Buddha or the universe, whatever you believe in, okay? You can't pay someone else to have that relationship with you. You have got to do this on your own. So here's what I want you guys to do right now, okay? Write down those 5 things. And then I want you to, right next to it, grade yourself on the scale of A, B, C, D, F, just like in school. When it comes to your career, what grade would you give yourself? When it comes to your friends and family and the closeness you have and the strength you have with them, what grade would you give yourself? Look down at your belly right now. Not you, Dwayne.
Oh, okay.
You're working on it. I'm proud of you. And by the way, when we're done, I want an update on how last week went. I'm not
my internet's kind of messing up right now. I don't know if I'll be able to stay after.
Yeah. You heard me. So how are you guys doing on your fitness? Grade that on a scale. And then your wealth, okay? If you're in your 20s, you should have a couple grand saved up. When you're in your 30s, you should probably have, 10 grand or more. In your 40s, you should be looking at hopefully, 6 figures or more. When you're in 50s, it better be high 6 figures, right? And that way, when you get into your retirement age, you can be into the 7 figures in a perfect world if you invest and save properly. It's going to take about 2.6 something million dollars for you to live from 60 to 80 without income, folks. And you ain't going to do that saving 35 grand. So how does your wealth look? And then your relationship with the Lord or Allah or Buddha or whomever, guys. I'm not here to debate that. You love who you want to love. But despite that, even if you're not religious and you're just spiritual, or you believe in the universe, or you believe in constellations, whatever, if you believe that there's a balance to the work, to the universe, or there's some sort of like law of attraction, whatever it is, how is that relationship? Now look at the grades that you give yourself. Are they disproportioned? Do you see a couple B's and A's? Do you see a couple F's and D's? Now you know where to focus. Now you know where to focus. Because if you're doing really well in a couple and you're just dragging ass on the other, now you know what you should be focused on. And guys and ladies, I promise you that if you focus on the things that are C's, D's, and F's, it will do nothing but increase your quality of life. Okay? So let's go on to masculinity. Let's go on to wisdom, because there's one thing that I've always strived for is I try to, be a wise guy. I really hope I have kids one day, because I think I'll be a great father. At least I think so. But in closing, this is what I want. I want you guys to know how to be wise. And so this is how it is to be a wise masculine man. You have to see the world for what it truly is. That's the burden of men. A beautifully imperfect world. That's what we live in. It's a beautifully imperfect world full of beautifully imperfect people. Men have built the world that we live in. Look around you right now. Whether you're listening to me in a car, whether you're in a home, whether you're at work, it was all built by groups of men. Everything you see, do a 360 right now, it was all built by groups of men. And we would never have been able to accomplish so much if we lived in our feelings the entire time. Men don't have the luxury of dealing in fairy tales. Leave that fantasy to women and children. No disrespect. But masculine men don't say things like, well, not all people. Well, not in all cases. We don't talk about that shit. Okay? Masculine men deal in probabilities, not possibilities. So even when it comes to picking our own mates, we don't hang on the fantasy that there's a perfect woman out there, and when we find her, we'll find true love. That is a very bad approach. Truly masculine and wise men know that true love is not finding the perfect person. True love is finding an imperfect person, but understanding them perfectly. Okay? The reality is that none of us are easy to deal with. We all suffer from something. So when you meet someone who's willing to stay committed to you, willing to stay committed to understanding you and wants to grow with you, someone who loves you idealistically and not opportunistically, don't let something silly like your ego, past damage, or pride ruin it. Embrace that woman and don't let them go. If you're a good man, you first must be a masculine leader, or you'll never attract that kind of woman. A wise, confident man who has been through more failures than successes. We don't want our woman to have damage, but our women kind of need us to have damage because we're the hardened steel. We're the rock of the family. So you got to get out there and you got to shoot your shot in life. You've got to take the risks that we talked about earlier on the podcast and get out there and freaking fail a little bit. Fail. And then get your ass up and do it again. And if you got to fail 4 more times, then do it again until you get it right. But you'll put yourself into a position eventually to where you'll be the kind and caliber man that I'm talking about. You've got to be that hardened man that can lead. If you're going to want the responsibility, you're going to want to talk shit and say that I want a woman who's submissive, then you've got to be a man who can lead. Otherwise, she's never going to feel truly secure and safe with you. A man that's forged in the fire and came out stronger for it. That's what I want you to be. And once you've been through life's rite of passage, you're now ready to lead. That's why you can't be high value in your 20s. If you have a woman, lead her. If you have children, lead them. And if you're lucky to have both, lead them all. You have to be wise and you have to be hardened before you can lead, though. Our jobs as men look different when leading our women compared to leading our children. You guys know that. So when we lead our children, the goal is to find that blend of like, keeping them safe without coddling them enough to suppress their learning, of course. You guys are probably better suited to know this better than me because I don't have children. But if I'm thinking about it, an example would be like if we were teaching our children to ride a bike. When they fall, a feminine woman will probably rush to kiss their boo-boo. That's what they do. When I was a kid, I wanted my mom to kiss my boo-boo as well. I get it. But a masculine man will remain stoic with no expression. The children will look at him and they can see that the father is expecting this to happen. He kind of knows you're going to fall off your bike. Then the dad says what? Get up and try it again. Even if you got a strawberry on your knee from just thrashing it across that sidewalk, he's going to not say, we're going to call it a day. No, he's going to say, get up and let's try it again. Because our jobs as men, when leading our women to protect her, our jobs when we lead, so that's how you raise your kids. But when it comes to the women, our jobs as men, when leading our women, is to protect her from life's damage. Okay. We don't want damaged, jaded women because they're unruly and they're masculine. As men, it's our job and duty to keep the women that we have in our community safe from damage emotionally and physically. We want purity and we want peace. We want love. We want caring. And you can't do that with a woman who has 45 scars on her heart from half you assholes showing her the worst of humanity and mankind.
Yeah.
Half of the guys I'm talking to right now are the reasons why some of these men are the women, some of these women are the women that we complain about because you're being a bunch of douche nozzles. Women don't handle adversity the same way as men. We know that, okay? It's also why men prefer younger women because besides a younger woman's innocence and beauty and fitness and fertility, a man is attracted to a younger woman's innocence. She's less jaded. Not in all cases, but that's generally why, besides the looks part of it and the fertility, why we prefer younger women because they're less damaged. So don't be a part of the freaking problem. Don't get out there and damage these women. We don't want her with scars on her heart. She's less jaded, less emotional damage. Some women will actually brag about, well, I've been through hell and came out the other side. Okay, well, you know what? Believe her. Believe her. She's probably been through hell and came out the other side, okay? But she didn't come out better on the other side. She came out hardened and masculine on the other side. Avoid women like this. It's not an attractive trait is all I'm saying, okay? Men want a woman's purity and innocence. So once you've chosen a woman, it's your duty to protect her from life's damage. Lead is what I'm saying to you. You lead your kids a little different than you lead your woman, but the common denominator is leading. And you cannot lead if you haven't taken life's risks. If you played it safe, waxing your pud, playing the PS5 for the last 15 years, you are not a man I'm talking about. You're not the man I'm talking about. You're the dead fish guy I worked out with 4 days ago. That's who you are, bitch. Lead. Get up and freaking lead. So protect her from the things she cannot see and protect her from the things that she can. Let's go through the comments real fast and see if there's anything else, guys. If you have any comments and things like that, just put them in the comment section. Bro hugger, Eric. Let's see what we got here. Gotcha. All right.
Well, I
mean, I don't. All right.
There's it. Yeah. In the times that I recognize both.
Dwayne, here's one for you. Here's one for you.
Here or
there. Yeah. So. Who cried?
That was that video. Yeah, that was the video about the kid that had to work 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are living through this. You guys are seeing what we're saying. Yeah, man. Some of us are. Here's something about COVID.
Nope.
Yeah. Keep your head up, bro.
Keep your I again, roughly a decade ago, I had everything taken from me, and just pain into purpose, changing that around and getting back in the saddle, not giving up and moving forward. Sounds like Aaron is, that's that man thing. Get in there, get her done.
Aaron, let me tell you something, man. Every time there's a good story about someone doing something great, that story always started with him at rock bottom.
Yeah. Can't look up until you're flat on your back.
Yeah, man. The next few pages of your life are empty chapters. Write that shit and make it good. And when you do, message me. I'll tell your story. What does it say?
Circumcision by 14.
14.
I don't know if we want to. I kind of am a fan of that idea. I mean, I find it crazy that people in the 70s and 80s, when we had the HIV stuff that started up, and it was the condoms were everywhere. That's all everyone talked about. I cannot believe people have unprotected relations at all. It blows my mind.
Yeah. When we were talking about failures and things like that, look at what Todd said. I never knew this. So the 409 cleaner is named 409 because it failed 408 times. Great message, Todd. Appreciate that. So some great comments, guys. That's pretty much what I got for today. Dwayne, you got anything you want to add?
No, I would just say everyone's kind of call to action for the week. As Jimmy gave you guys some great tools to look at, some things to just really ponder and figure out how you can make this week your best week. If you have areas that you're performing low in, a D or an F, or however we're doing grading nowadays, get a plan. The thing is, get a plan in place to fix it. Reach out there. We have the power of the internet. You can get in touch with the show. There's different things to do, but I would just say maybe an action step is for everyone to look at what they filled out and put that in place. That 5 important areas of your life. See where you're not there, and sit down either by yourself or with your significant other or with friends, and come up with a plan to incrementally make your life better. Because the only thing that's going to change if you don't do anything is time. You're just going to be another week older.
Yeah,
get out
absolutely.
there. As my daddy said, get up off your ass and rub some dirt on it and get back in the game.
Listen, man, I'm proud of you guys. You guys are fighting the hard battle. Ladies, I'm proud of you guys too. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today's episode of The Big Show, hosted by me, Jimmy Smith. I really appreciate it. On behalf of my co-hosts, Dwayne Ward and Eric Carroll, you guys keep pushing to be the best versions of yourself that you can be. We'll see you guys here on Dad Talk Today next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, everybody. Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning